What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corey Sylvester Murray, and we talk about generational wealth, finance, business, and of course, mental health.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
First off, I want to thank everybody that donated to our Black Men Sundays turkey drive. I appreciate your willingness. I appreciate that you believe in my movement because I always tell people I'm blessed I'm blessed every day. I'm blessed for two reasons. I'm blessed because I woke up that morning, and I'm blessed because I'm able to help others. And I'd like to thank you for believing in me and allowing us as a community to help everybody. So, we have Dr. J. McNeil back on Black Men Sundays. She was our guest last week. We
Yes.
had a lot of correspondence from our viewers. I want to know about the 50-year mortgage. So first off, Dr. J. McNeil, welcome back to Black Men Sundays, Queen. How you doing today?
I am well. Thank you for having me again, Corey. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm good. I hope you are.
Oh yeah, I'm great. Let's get right into it. We talking about the 50-year mortgage. First
Yeah.
off, what is the 50-year mortgage, and tell us some pros and cons about it first.
Okay. So the 50-year mortgage is a loan product that allows you 20 more years of an extended term in which to repay the loan. We know traditionally that most people will get a 30-year mortgage. The 50-year mortgage adds 20 years to the term, which enables a person to have initially 20 more years to satisfy the term on the mortgage. Initially, that's going to allow them a lower payment. That's why it appears to be attractive to most home buyers because the payment is lower originally. And there's some areas of caution that I'd like to bring and make very important and noticeable to our listeners that although the lower payment may be attractive, the cost of a 50-year mortgage is much higher. So let's hone into that a little bit more. A 50-year mortgage can drop the monthly payment slightly. So I don't want you to think it's that much. But over the life of the loan, which is what we should be most concerned about, you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars more in interest in comparison to a 30-year loan. It's the same house, but way more expensive in the long run. So that's why I want people to see this product as something that should be utilized only as a strategy. And secondly, because it builds equity very slowly. And I say this because the loan is stretched over 30 years, which is 20 more years longer than the original 30-year loan that we traditionally set up for. And so your early payments barely touch the principal. Now, we know in a traditional mortgage for 30 years, maybe the first 10 years, we're not really even touching the principal for the first 10 years on a 30-year loan. So imagine how much more that term goes out for a 50-year mortgage. And so what does that mean for us? It takes much longer to build equity with a 50-year mortgage. You risk staying upside down when the market shifts. Another thing to consider is you lose out on one of the biggest benefits of home ownership, which is equity accumulation. Also, it's not designed to help you own a home faster. It's designed for people that traditionally would not qualify. Say, for instance, if there's a home that is outside of your price point and you really have fallen in love with the home, which is why I tell people instead of going out with a realtor first and falling in love with the home, your first appointment in the home buying process needs to be with a mortgage loan officer because you don't want to be considering homes that are outside of your price point. And this goes right back to that very reason why this is highly recommended. Because more times than not, you are going to love a home that is traditionally out of your price point. So when that happens, such products as a 50-year mortgage are going to be extremely attractive to you because they will help you qualify for a home that's outside of your price point. And because you've fallen in love with it, and the home buying process can be very emotional, the 50-year mortgage will appear to be in a strategy that will yield you the home that you want, that you've fallen in love with, because you went about looking for the home first versus getting qualified for the mortgage first. So when that happens, this is going to give you the ability to stretch outside of the home price point that you would originally qualify for. And you're going to see that, oh, wow, this home is affordable after all, because this payment works for me. And next thing you know, you're going to be enticed to get into the home because you feel like the 50-year mortgage payment is very doable for you. So again, just remember, it's not designed to help you own the home faster. It's designed to help you qualify for the home. Now, lenders know that longer terms equal lower payments. We're well aware of that. So a 50-year mortgage can help someone qualify for a home, but it doesn't make the home more affordable in the long term. Because remember, there's an additional 20 years that the interest is accumulating. And that's what we forget about, the long term. That's 20 more years of interest accumulating. So this product is designed to fit people that are looking into homes during the high price markets, the high rate environments, and it's definitely not designed to increase generational wealth. Is it a bad product? I would not say yes to that. Is it a strategic product that you use for a short term and then possibly refinance when the market has shifted? Absolutely.
Wow, great information. And what I want to ask you about as well is, okay, we're in a 50-year mortgage,
Yeah.
but I want to sell the house in 10 years. How does selling the house work with the 50-year mortgage?
Well, it doesn't prevent you from being able to sell the home. But as far as the numbers are concerned, because you're not chiseling away at the principal balance of the home like you would if you were on a shorter term, that simply means you're not accomplishing as much as you would on a 30-year mortgage with the 50-year mortgage, because you have a longer term to fulfill. So when it comes time to actually retire the mortgage by either you paying it off or having the mortgage paid off by another person who has interest in buying your property, the balance really hasn't changed that much because of the term of the mortgage. So yes, you're able to sell it, but you're probably not going to have as much profit or net proceeds with the sale of the home, because you haven't accomplished as much of paying off the balance of the home on a 50-year mortgage.
So when we're talking about a 50-year mortgage, that's going to allow more people to become homeowners.
Yeah.
What does that do though for the housing market?
So let me answer that by saying this. What a 50-year mortgage, it's best for people with a clear long-term strategy, not for the emotional buyer, because we talked about a little bit how hearing the news that I've just shared could make one emotional. So let's talk about who it is for. It's best for people with a clear long-term strategy and not the emotional buyer. So what does that look like? A 50-year mortgage isn't for everyone. Clearly, we've defined that, but it can work for someone who plans to buy the home, ride out the market, refinance later when the rates do drop, because we've seen the market be cyclical, and it's not a matter of if the rates will drop. Anyone who has studied our nation's history and financial ebbs and flows, we know it's just a matter of time when those things will, come about again. It's also good for those who use the property for investment later. It's good for those who prioritize cash flow and they want it now. So what I'm saying, Corey, essentially it requires strategy and not so much impulse. Also, it reduces the monthly pressure, because some people, let's just create a scenario. Say there's a health scare that someone has, and they need to exit out of their existing home because it's too small, and they need to move in an elderly parent, and maybe they have a health scare that's going on. So there's circumstances that they must have a larger home, which is outside of their traditional means. And so they do need to acquire a home that can afford them the ability to take on the elderly parent to be in the home. And, they're dealing with not being able to afford the higher payment because they've got new responsibilities for the elderly parent, and then they have their own health concerns. So clearly there is a need for a lower payment. So that is the circumstance. So what that's going to do is it's going to reduce the pressure for that monthly payment that they truly cannot afford, but it doesn't change the fact that they still need to move in a home that affords them the ability to accommodate the elderly parent and their need for a lower payment because they cannot afford the increase. So it reduces the monthly pressure, but not the financial responsibility. So people get excited about the lower payment, but they tend to forget that the taxes will still go up, the insurance still goes up, the HOA still goes up, the maintenance still goes up. The only thing that stayed low was the mortgage payment, and even that is more expensive in the long run. So it can work as a cash flow tool for investors. So that's very promising, depending upon which type of borrower is going to utilize this product. I would primarily say an investor. I give them the thumbs up, but not for first-time home buyers. A 50-year mortgage can definitely make sense for the lower monthly payment, which equals the higher monthly cash flow. It can work for rental income that can be offset for the long-term loan. It can work for equity being less important for investors, because for investors, cash flow is more important. But this requires experience and discipline. And this is not, and I do highlight, this is not for the beginner or first-time home buyers, more so to the investors or persons who have circumstantial needs to where they need a bigger home, but they cannot stomach the higher payment. So I would want to encapsulate all of that by saying, if you choose to move forward with this product, you must have a plan to refinance. And what that looks like is to strategize by having a refinance plan, when the rates do drop and refinance, then pay down the principal aggressively. Use appreciation or rental income to improve your position. And it should be treated only as a temporary financial tool and not a forever loan plan.
Thank you for saying that. And my last question for you, utilizing your underwriting experience. So, we get the 50-year mortgage, but as far as the underwriting goes, as far as our down payments and closing costs, would that be lower as well?
Typically, that's only going to speak to the term. All those other requirements are typically set up by the investors, and so they're pretty much set. This just has to do with the repayment of the loan and the term in which you have to do so. So, in a snapshot, I would say a 50-year mortgage might give you a lower payment, but people, I cannot stress enough, they must understand that it dramatically increases the total cost of the loan over time. You know, when you think about the term of the loan, of the life of the loan, as we say in underwriting, you pay more interest to build equity at a slower rate and stretch your financial commitment across a half a century. And I say it using those words because where's the lie? A half a century sounds like a long time, and I say it that way because it is. You're literally, you know, allowing yourself to be financially committed to something a half a century. And it can work as a cash flow tool for investors or someone planning for refinance, but it's not a wealth building strategy. So know that by itself. A 50-year mortgage is not about affordability, it's about qualification primarily. So if someone were to choose it, they need a real strategy behind it. It's not just relief at a lower monthly payment, is what I would say overall to be considered. I think the 50-year mortgage is attractive to people because it will give them the opportunity to taste something that's outside of their reach, such as a home that might be $100,000 or $150,000 more than what they were planning for, because it may make it seem obtainable for them. Because, like I said, when most people see things, they're going to fall in love with the aesthetics of what they've had a chance to experience, to see, to touch, to taste, all of our senses. That's why I say this is a very emotional product. So I think it's going to be an emotional decision and have people on the fence about should I or shouldn't I, because it's going to introduce them into an area of being able to explore a product which will yield them a home that may be outside of their reach. But if finances is showing them an avenue in which they'll be able to obtain it, of course they're going to be interested. But that's why I want people to not necessarily say no to the product. I want them to understand the product. You know, we hear all of our lives that knowledge is power. And although I understand the concept of that, I don't totally agree with that. What I agree with is the use of the knowledge that is powerful. And that's why I'm trying to make sure that there is a full spectrum of the understanding and the education of what this product is used for and the long-term strategy and the overall benefits, the pros and cons, and then make an informed decision about the use of the product so that you are making a well-educated decision, not for just today's decision, but a decision that you'll be happy with 10, 20, and maybe even 50 years from now.
Great information. And I gotta ask you this. So if I'm been renting my whole life, never owned a home, and I said, okay, now this is my chance to get the house with the ballroom ceilings that I couldn't
Yeah,
afford, but I can afford it now. But I've never owned a home before.
yeah.
Like I said, I've rented my whole life.
Mhm.
So you're saying this 50-year mortgage isn't for the first time home buyer?
I would
Because it
definitely
sounds sexy, you know?
that's why I say it becomes emotional because it is very sexy. It's very attractive, especially to the first time home buyer. And you know, because it's making something that appears to be outside of your reach very obtainable. And so that's why if a first time home buyer, which I don't recommend, but if you so choose, because at the end of the day, Corey, people are going to do what they want to do, right? So if one does choose to move forward with this product and be a first time home buyer, it's not the end of the world. What I am saying is that use the strategy of refinancing when the market does turn. That would be my advisement to someone who presses forward anyway. There's a psychology behind people choosing different loan products, and I'll explain that more closely here. Uh, Typically, you will have people to consider different loan products depending upon their positioning with risk taking. What do I mean by that? You'll traditionally see people that are risk takers, people that are entrepreneurs, generally lean towards doing things that are out of the pocket or not so traditional. For instance, there was once a time where reverse mortgages were taboo because not that it wasn't a good product, but it was just new. It was a product that we had not utilized before. It was a product that we didn't understand. But now there's a market that leans into the reverse mortgage because of we're now starting to see the benefit, especially when there's desolate times where the elderly have a fixed income and there's no other resources for them, and we don't want to see them removed from their homes. So just to give you a snapshot on what a reverse mortgage is. One will qualify for a reverse mortgage upon turning age 62. They can qualify for a reverse mortgage in which the equity that's in their existing home can be utilized as monthly payments to them as the homeowner, and no longer are they making monthly payments to the lender for living in the home. So again, just to restate that, the equity that's in the home then becomes a monthly payment to the homeowner, and they receive that as income, which depletes the equity in the home because those monies are being paid monthly to the homeowner. So when there is a elderly person 62 and beyond that for whatever reason can't afford the mortgage payment anymore, or even doesn't want to pay the mortgage anymore, because that's an option too. They want to utilize the equity in the home to receive monthly payments to offset the lack of income or the shortage in the income or whatever the reason is. They have the option to, even if their home was free and clear, they can still remortgage the home and start receiving monthly payments of income based on the equity they had in their home. So there was once upon a time where that was a product that was very scary to us all. But now we see the value in having that as an option because, which leads me to my next comment, Corey, believe it or not everyone wants to own their home. There is a psychology or a mindset or a remnant of people that are okay with owning the home while they are occupying it. But once they're gone, they could give a rat's rump about what happens to the home beyond their passing. So that's why I say there's a psychology that goes along with who is actually in the home and what their intentions are for while they're in the home and what happens to the home when they're no longer with us. So circling back to the 50-year mortgage, there may be a person who's willing to take the risk and get the home that's normally not within their means, and they're okay with the lower monthly payment because it got them the home that is their dream home that they would not be able to afford otherwise, because they're of the mindset, I could care less what happens to this home when I'm no longer here. So the 50-year mortgage product could be for that person as well.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for always showing love to Black Men Sundays, and we're gonna definitely have you back, sister.
Yes, that sounds good. If anyone wants to reach out to me about further questions, whether that be all things real estate or mortgage, my handle on Instagram is JEI_speaks. That's JEI_SPEAKS. Look forward to speaking with each of you.
It's a black man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be